So I want to talk about CJ Stroud and Jordan Love. Both played tremendous this weekend. Some of the best early, young career performances I've ever seen, especially in the playoffs. I want to focus about CJ Stroud first, though. What a game he had. 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, one of the highest QBRs that ESPN ever gave out, especially to a rookie quarterback. I want to know, what did you see from CJ Stroud, and do you think he could be the future for the Houston Texans?
I think he absolutely can, and I think in a lot of ways he already is. I mean, his progression this year from where he was when they drafted him has been unbelievable. I think he's exceeded all expectations, and certainly they have to view him as their quarterback of the next 15 years.
Absolutely. I mean, the way, the Browns defense, right? Number 1 defense in the league. They got cooked on every single level, and CJ Stroud was throwing, bombs to Nico Collins. You got Brevin Jordan. Yards. They couldn't even tackle him. He broke like 3 tackles before he scored an absolute tremendous 76-yard touchdown. John Mechie. He was injury problems early in his career, sending absolute bombs every which way. CJ Stroud's just a different guy. I mean, I know we talked about this before the show. He has to be at least in the top 10 of quarterbacks, right?
I would think so at this point. I don't think there's much of a case against him. I mean, assuming that he takes another leap in year 2, I think he's got a chance to move into the top 5 before too long. I
mean, we saw early in the season he was the top 5.
He's definitely the rookie of the year, right? He's going to be the rookie of the year. He's going to get that award for sure this year. He could have been. We had him in the discussion for MVP a while ago. Then he got hurt for a game or two, and then he didn't play lights out, but he did get him into the playoffs. And wow, that playoff game. The thing that impressed me the most about him was his confidence. He was like ice water in his veins. He's a rookie out there playing in his first playoff game with his coach, who was also first time he was in the head coach in a playoff game.
Also, the OC is the first time play caller as well.
A lot of those players, first time they've been in the playoffs, they play great. Really, hats off to the coach and to the quarterback.
I think the whole organization, just considering where they were a year ago with Davis Mills playing quarterback to where they are now, it's night and day.
Yeah, and the moves they made with their front office guy who came from the Patriots, Nick Caserio.
Yep.
Right? They traded up to get Stroud. They traded up to get Anderson. They gave up a lot, but look what it yielded. It yielded a playoff win.
Yeah.
Getting into the playoffs and a playoff win. And the coach. We got them too. I mean, the guy, he batted 1,000. Really, Caserio, fantastic job.
Yeah, after a couple of years of subpar performances and questionable decisions, I think this is really validating for them, showing that all of the things they did that people didn't understand really paid off for them. And hiring and firing coaches after a year, really trying to find the right person for the role. I think a lot of people are looking pretty bad looking back on it now.
Yeah, you think Browns right now regret? I know we're going to talk about him, coming up soon. But you think the Browns are regretting, getting rid of Baker Mayfield, getting Deshaun Watson from the Texans?
I'm sure they have to be regretting the move for Deshaun Watson. Baker Mayfield or not, I think he has not provided much value for them, especially considering what they're paying.
Yeah,
and I mean, for him to be in some ways outperformed by a 38-year-old who wasn't on a team at the start of the season.
More than half.
I don't think that this makes him look very good. Not that he really looked that great to begin with.
That is true.
The Deshaun Watson trade really looks like a joke now when you look at Baker Mayfield won a playoff game this year, right?
Yeah.
It's really, it really looks like a joke. It was a really bad decision when you got a 38-year-old quarterback out there to try to get you a playoff win, and he's on the sidelines hurt, and didn't play that well when he was in there before he got hurt.
Right, John. I know you're not gonna. Oh, I'm sorry. Go.
Oh, thank you. I was just going to say it. I think poses questions about the leadership of the team and their decision makers. In that all of the quarterbacks that were on their roster for the full year were not able to perform at the level of a person close to retirement who wasn't really viewed as anything at the start of the year.
Yeah.
That it took them until week 15, 16, was it, before they could have, reasonable play from a quarterback.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is that you're not coming on Friday. I want to know, Ravens-Texans. Do the Texans have any shot at beating the Ravens?
I think they certainly have a shot. It's the NFL and the playoffs, and anything can happen. I think the Ravens defense is certainly another scary one. I wonder if the Texans have really shown their best plays and their best options at this point, just trying to get past the Browns.
Right.
I wonder what else they can come up with to get past the Ravens that they haven't already shown. I think that's going to be their key to having a chance.
Would you at least take them to cover? Ravens minus 8.5 right now. Take the Texans to lose by 8 or less?
Yeah, I think it'll be a closer game than the projection show. I don't think that 8.5 is fair to the Texans based on everything they've achieved.
Just beat the number one defense. Couldn't agree more. All right, let's get into the other young quarterback, Jordan Love. He had a tremendous performance, the highest QBR ESPN has ever given out in a playoff game since 2006 when they made the stat, 99.3. He put an absolute clinic against one of the NFL's best defenses, the Dallas Cowboys. However, we've seen this from Dak Prescott and the Cowboys before. They played great in the regular season, underwhelming, absolutely devastating in the playoffs, except this time it was against one of the youngest teams in the NFL, the youngest team in the playoffs, and a defense that's not San Francisco. Doesn't have an efficient quarterback like Brock Purdy or like Jimmy G. They lost to Jordan Love, who beginning of the year looked like he couldn't play in the NFL. And now recently he's on a hot streak, but still, youngest team in the NFL, you have a dominating defense. Not only that, you're at home where you average about 37 points a game, and you still found a way to lose the game. Jordan Love, talk about his performance. Do you think he's the franchise guy? Did the Packers find their third consecutive franchise quarterback?
I think it's a stretch to call Jordan Love a franchise quarterback. To your point, he's still a bit inconsistent. I think they really need to wait and see as they get into next season. Does he build on this and continue this level of play?
Right.
Or does he continue to show what he did in the first half of the season, where he'd have a great game and then a game that he'd rather forget? I think if he can continue this, he's going to be very well on his way.
Do you think, John, that part of the reason that he didn't have such a good first half was the receiving core was so young and it took a while for them to gel?
Yes, I think that it's a similar problem to what Aaron Rodgers experienced last year. It's a very underexperienced core of receivers in particular. And I think that they're really coming into their own at this point. I think that they've really built on the last year and a half really being able to work together.
Right.
And I think that the benefits of all of that time are really starting to show.
I could argue, and I'll bring it up for our viewers now, but I've argued before. If Jordan Love just plays as effectively as Rodgers did last season, I think this team could, at least go 9-8. Well, not only that, they made it to the playoffs. Rodgers didn't do that last year with basically the same receiving core and the same people around him. Jordan Love had a significantly better season, and we talked about it early in the year where the first 12 games, Jordan Love and Rodgers were nearly identical. Now, obviously not. We're going to have to wait and see how Jordan Love progresses, but for me, isn't Jordan Love on the path to Aaron Rodgers right now? Same system, same Green Bay, title town, Lambeau Field. You got to give me that at least, John. Come on.
Well, I want to slightly divert from that and touch on something you mentioned earlier in the show.
Sure.
With Jordan Love outperforming Aaron Rodgers.
He did.
From last year?
Yeah.
He did. But I would say you mentioned that he's working with pretty much the same team. That is the case, but I think that takes away from your argument a bit, given that just means they've had another whole year of working together, being able to learn the offense. Yes, it's the same team, but Rodgers was working with them when they were all really fresh. Jordan Love is getting them after a year of being able to learn from Aaron Rodgers and learn how to run NFL routes and perform at an NFL level.
I'll give you that, but I'll also say that Jordan Love never seemed to have a problem with the youth of their receivers and the lack of experience. We saw early in the season last year, Christian Watson had a bad drop. They had to do jet sweeps to keep him involved in the offense. Romeo Doubs never went to dinner with Rodgers. He talked about that. He had 151 yards in this game on 6 catches. I mean, clearly the age gap, and Brady was a little bit better with this when it comes to the age gap, but the age gap for, established quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks, and super young players, especially with Rodgers' personality, it didn't work. It just didn't work. Jordan Love's a little bit different than him.
They are different. I also think part of the challenge, like you mentioned, is the age gap. And Jordan Love, I think, doesn't feel entitled to be able to complain and come out and criticize because he's not
That's true. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah.
quote-unquote veteran leader.
Right.
Rodgers was in a position to do that as a Super Bowl winner, as a multi-time MVP. He's earned that right.
I'll definitely say that.
Beyond that,
yeah, go for it.
Beyond that, Aaron Rodgers had been able to work with some of the best receivers that have played in the NFL in the last 25 years. Jordan Love has not had that opportunity. So yeah. I think that they're just looking at it from different perspectives.
Imagine if they get Mike Evans, if the Bucs can't work anything out with him. Mike Evans with Romeo Doubs, the way he's been playing, Christian Watson, if he can stay healthy. Dontavian Wicks recently has popped up as, oh my God, this guy could catch. Musgrave, the tight end. Who's saying that the Packers can't go back to the top of the NFC North if they get a receiver like Mike Evans?
I don't know why they would want to do that. I mean,
add on to the group, add a veteran leader there. I'm just saying.
I mean, they might be able to draft. They've had really good luck drafting receivers. Maybe they draft another one.
Fair. That's fair. What do you think? Mike Evans makes this team at least a 10-win team and back winning the NFC North again?
I think that's certainly a possibility. I think that opens up Doubs as a wide receiver too, who at this point probably can claim to be a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
So it would put him into a lot more single coverage, and I think it would make their offense quite intimidating.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.